Welcome back, everybody, to the Bitcoin market updates and everything going on in Central and in the U.S. Talking about it, I'm here with my good friend Sergio. We missed about a couple of weeks of our last one because both of us were traveling. I was out in Ibiza, and I think you were in Europe as well, somewhere in the United Kingdom or something like that, right, Sergio?
Yes, no, I was here in Latin America in this case, but tomorrow I'm flying to Miami.
That's right. You're going out and you're going to be doing an event at a house, $175 million house, right? It's in, where's it at? Coral Gables?
That's in Coral Gable, yes. The event name is Casa Miami, and it's basically an activation for family offices and high net worth individuals during the World Cup. So it's going to be really fun. I will be participating in a legacy panel.
Beautiful. We're great. Well, when our Bitcoin hits $1 million each, we can buy that house together. We'll take my 15 and we'll move it over. So it'll make it all happen. So there we go.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right. Well, let's start today because it's been a minute since we chatted last and give everybody kind of an update. Today to start off kind of the macro, what's going on right now. So, early 2026, we started off at like 90, I think it was like 93, 94,000 for Bitcoin. I think we're down to 64 right now, roughly more or less. It keeps bouncing between 60 64 the last couple of weeks. It's clawing itself up again. Ethereum as well. I think we're almost, the low was like 1,800 if I remember right off the top of my head. So we're definitely seeing some movement of things kind of going back and forth. The markets are changing. You're seeing the bigger companies like BlackRock and them coming in with some ETFs as well right now. Ripple's been making some great moves as well. I'm sure you've seen that. And so it's kind of an interesting concept. And I think that we have some votes going in the US right now for the Clarity Act, if I remember right, and the Genius Act, right? They're actually going to be voting, or it should pass or go through on July 18th, which is my birthday. So that's a big day for us as well. Any comments on that?
Yes, especially the Clarity Act is really, really interesting. The U.S. actual administration is pushing for that, and that will be a game changing for the crypto industry in general, for sure. Also regarding the Bitcoin price is like we have been discussing probably over the last 2 or 3 episodes. There are a lot of moving parts. Macro things. When you see, for example, the Middle East situation, there are tensions again. So all the assets, not only Bitcoin. If you see, for example, SpaceX, they are going down and down, and this is more related from some of the macro stuff.
Yeah, I think it's a mixture. Normally economic wise, when the stock market's up and you see things happen is when you start to see more real estate being sold. And we haven't really seen that twist because normally the market goes up and then interest rates go down. But in the US, interest rates have not come down. The big opening in Costa Rica for us around has been that you can get a loan now somewhere between 7.5% and 30%. So there are things going on. But I think there's a lot of changes coming down the road. There's also right now, I was reading the article the other day on the VASP Law in Costa Rica, the virtual, what is it called? The Virtual Asset Service Provider Law, I think it is, that they voted on in May. And I believe it passed, right? I did read the article. I've been keeping up on it, but I haven't looked into it, if it's completely passed yet or not.
It passed. It was published in La Gaceta in July 19, and in September, it will be 100% official. So that's also positive.
They just re-voted in May, didn't they, though? They put the legislation went through in May, I think it was like May 18th or something like that, again in Costa Rica, even though it wasn't like Gazeta and Pastor, all that stuff. So, that's going to give us some teeth in Costa Rica as well. And I think that, isn't it like Costa Rica and Panama are the last 2 jurisdictions for that, right?
Yes, correct. But that's always positive when you have a clear framework for the industry in general. When you see, for example, the Clarity Act at the US level, this legislation in Costa Rica, everybody is talking during the last 30 days about the World Cup and everything that has been happening. But something related to crypto is that there's the second World Cup where a crypto exchange is an official sponsor. In Qatar 2022, we saw for the first time in history Crypto.com. During this World Cup, we have been seeing a Kraken everywhere because they are FIFA sponsors. So a lot of positive things happening from different type of angles, and that's positive for the industry. We are in a bear market, but well.
The interesting question that is always going to come down, which I've been getting a lot in the different groups that I'm in, is that, as you, let's call it, I don't know if I want to use the word legalize, but in essence, it becomes more mainstream, right? Let's call it Bitcoin and different things like that. I think the legality of things like the VASP Act or the Clarity Act, things like that, are going to add more value to it on the long run. But right now, we're seeing the kind of the tension in between there, which is falling, right? I mean, it's something that definitely opens up. I mean, we've talked about before in Costa Rica, you really can't, if I were to sell Bitcoin or something like that, I can't bring it in my bank accounts because the banks aren't accepting it. So the VASP Act should start to open that up more and change that model. Whereas in the US, I have no problem doing it, right? As long as you're paying your taxes and you're doing your stuff. And so I think that it loses to a certain extent the essence of why we all talk about Bitcoin, where we're at to some part, but I still think there's the anonymity to that as well, right? Where you're still privacy and there's still a lot that can happen. And I think that, I track a lot because I've got quite a bit of XRP myself as well, and I track a lot what's going on there. And they've made some huge strides in the banking industries, which are starting. I think Japan just actually filed an act there that they'll be flipping a lot of their banking system to XPR, and now they're doing transfers and all that kind of stuff, which makes it quicker. There was some stuff that was just folded over to BlackRock in the US and ETFs coming out and all that. And so I think you're starting to see the banks accept in a whole different model that we didn't think was going to happen for a longer time. And you're right. I mean, we're down, but I think that's going to really put us on a trajectory to keep going forward.
No, absolutely. And I mean, crypto, especially stable coins in general, has become the rails for cross-border payments. So now you see a lot of companies that they doesn't even know that they are using stablecoin rails or blockchain rails, doing instant payment from Mexico to Asia, from Chile, Central America to Asia. And that's when you start seeing those type of use cases, you realize, hey, there are different type of endorsements from different angles with the Clarity Act, with the local act here in Costa Rica, where you see, hey, crypto industry in general is here to stay, because now it's not like, hey, Bitcoin, the crazy guys or the weird people. No. Now it's really, really mainstream funds, banks, logistic company. It's
right?
everywhere. Yeah, the supply chain, global supply chains are using that indirectly. So there are a lot of things going on.
Yeah, it's interesting too. You mentioned stable coins as well. So I was reading an article. I forgot where I was getting it from. It might have been in just a crypto news article I was reading, somewhere like that. And it said that the basically stablecoin market dropped almost 10 billion since May, right? And the comment was that a lot of that was moved into things like meme coins and things like differently, which is coming, like the Trump coin, things like that are happening in the US and all that. So stablecoin took a massive hit, or you could call it a hit, or you could just call it a shift of money going in different places, right? I mean, what's your feeling on that?
Yes, it's the same case with Bitcoin, when Michael Saylor from Strategy was saying, hey, you have, for example, a lot of you had the SpaceX IPO. There are some interesting IPOs from OpenAI, from Anthropic. So people are moving somehow their budget or their capital, and more than people, hedge funds and big institutional players. This is why in the macro environment, I don't know how to describe it, but you see institutions. I'm not talking about retail. Okay, gold, silver, SpaceX, Bitcoin. There are a lot of moving parts, and nobody. I mean, it's like a transition period. That's probably the best way to explain it. So capital is moving all around.
Yeah, and there's a lot of players in that can make comments. I mean, Kevin Walsh was on Capitol Hill, and pretty much made a huge statement this week. Was coming in with the new Genius Act and all that, and to some part, as soon as he spoke, the whole market went, like it was quite wild. So there's a lot of different effects going on with different people that have power, like you said, because it's becoming more mainstream in that sense. I think we're going to see. I mean, have we hit bottom yet? I'd probably say no. I think we might see it go below 60, but I think we're close to bottom, right? And then we're going to start seeing a shift. In my point of view, when I read all the indicators of what's coming with the different acts and the changes in Central America and the things that are happening right now, I do foresee that we're going to maybe go down a little bit more, and then we're going to start seeing an upward kind of coming out of that over the next, maybe not the third quarter this year, but probably by fourth quarter going right into 2027. I think is when we'll start to see it. Is my kind of theory on it, or my reading onto it.
Yes, and it's always really important to see what is happening regarding infrastructure, because, for example, Tether just did an important investment in Mercado Bitcoin as an equity investment, because they want to build a stronger infrastructure here in Latin America. They took a decision to be out of Europe because of the MiCA legislation. You could say, hey, it's good, it's bad, whatever, but the point is that they are focusing more on emerging markets where you see an opportunity and focusing more not only providing services, but also investing in infrastructure and key companies. So there are a lot of interesting things happening. And this is why I see probably the next cycles less volatile. And if you see, for example, this cycle, the 4-year cycle is somehow dead because now we didn't honestly have the traditional 4-year cycle, and that's going to be ending over the next year, and you will start seeing more stable behaviors regarding prices and everything.
Yeah, it's a growth factor. I mean, it's interesting you say that because you're seeing a lot of change, and you know, I mentioned these stable coins and then meme coins or different coins. I mean, I'm getting calls, you know, constantly per week that people want to do an interview with us or different things on different coins. You know, I got one yesterday for a coin named I think it was WCC or something like that. They're trying to come into the Costa Rica, Salvador, and I believe Panama markets. Supposedly going to go on an IPO, things like that. So there's a lot of different interest and things happening. A lot of that's pushed towards creating a structure with properties as well. You know, where you can buy properties through it. And we use the word, we're using the word mainstream, but a lot of it's not even mainstream. It's just everyday applications of being able to use different product of whether it be via a cryptocurrency of Bitcoin or Ethereum or something in kind of everyday life. And you're right, you're starting to see a lot of companies adapt to that. I mean, I'm working with a couple developers and we're talking about tokenization of the properties and how we're going to do it, right? Where people, and in essence, I'm going to call it fractional, right? Because it is in the real estate world that we used before, it was a kind of a fractional buy, but now the word's tokenization, if you use it in that manner, where people can actually buy in at different shares of that token in sense and own, you know, call it a third or a fourth or whatever of that property in different areas. So there's a lot of interesting things starting to come up. It's the other problem there is I have those weeding through all that, right? I'm sure you get a lot of in the world that we're in, we get a lot of phone calls and stuff. And so it's been really hard to like, I feel bad. A lot of people, I'm always like, listen, they always want to offer you like, we want you to be an ambassador. And I'm like, yeah,
Yes.
it's too much.
No, but
Right?
it's too much. And you need to have a focus. In our case, is I mean, really institutional focus on real estate. Even I received a lot of calls from exchanges, and we already passed that stage. We are basically minting directly with Circle, with Tether. So that's our liquidity provider. So we already passed the traditional exchange thing, and this is important because what we are creating for the Costa Rican market is somehow different, but most important, stable over the time. And what get us also excited is, I don't know if you saw it, but during the last days of June, the New York Times published an article regarding Costa Rica and as number one destination for the region for retirement, luxury people from the US. So you have the crypto blockchain infrastructure on one side, and on the other side, Costa Rican and the opportunities we have and endorsement again from big players.
Yeah. I mean, if you talk about the country itself, I mean, I always say this, right? I mean, any Latin American country go through, you know, talking about Nicaragua, Honduras, and Panama. I mean, there's great infrastructure in some of those countries, Panama especially. But Panama is really isolated infrastructure to the city or to Boquete or to, you know, different areas, right? Whereas Costa Rica has done a phenomenal job at the entire country's infrastructure really coming together. I mean, you can be in the mountains and be at great restaurants and I don't, it's not really based on tourism, but it's based on a community, right? And so the whole country has done a really great job of kind of expanding in that direction. You know, there's a lot of argument going on with environmental groups that the country's changing and, you know, people are destroying stuff. But the reality is, like I've said this before, Costa Rica every year has donated more than, I think annually, like something like 10 to 15% back to green areas. But there are areas that are going to be zoned for development. And I think that people are very confused on that conversation of where that development can happen. You know, one of those regions is the Papagayo Peninsula, right? I mean, it's a specific region of Costa Rica that was zoned for development for what it was, and it's all completely planned out. But it gets battled quite a bit because people don't want, you know, development to go further, right? So it's a really kind of a yin and yang argument of like, well, we don't want it, but okay, but you have to do it somewhere because we need to create jobs and do things. So it's an interesting fold over, and I think that with that, comes then the introduction of the crypto markets, the luxury market. Costa Rica right now, the cologne is I think we're at like 450 today or something like that, if I remember right. We're quite low to the average of over the last 10 years, and hopefully we'll see a kick in that because people will come to Costa Rica and say things are a little bit more expensive. But overall, I think Costa Rica is still fairly inexpensive when you compare it to going. I was just in Ibiza for a couple of weeks, and trust me, it's a lot more expensive in Ibiza than it is in Costa Rica. So, it's all relative to where you're comparing to. I mean, yeah, if you're going to Mexico, it's expensive, right? But in general, I mean, Costa Rica, I think, still a bargain country with a luxury mode to it, right? I mean, we definitely offer different levels of luxury that you don't have in a lot of these different countries. So I'm excited to see our next quarter and going into 2027 as we start to move forth in a lot of these different projects.
Yes, and the important thing also is that, I mean, we keep transaction people with crypto, especially Bitcoin and stablecoin, coming to Costa Rica, buying properties. That's the most common scenario.
Yep.
We also, over the last weeks, had a couple of the opposite, people coming with dollars, seller wanting crypto, and well, the market give movement.
The way you want to do it.
Exactly.
Well, right on. Well, listen, man, I appreciate your time as always. Look forward to seeing you in person. I know you're heading off to Miami tomorrow. I think my next trip is to, I think I'm either in Chicago or I'm in Washington. I got to be out there somewhere. Actually, I got a trip in Miami myself as well. So we'll connect. I look forward to coming to one of these family offices soon again. And I appreciate your time. I look forward to our next talk.
Yes, absolutely. We'll be doing a gathering probably in New York around October. So hopefully you come join.
I like that one. There we go. I can make that. It's a little colder that time for me, but but I can make it.
Okay. Great to be
buddy, safe
here
travels.
as always.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Bye.